You are listening to Level Up Your Gaming Podcast, Episode 19, Impactful NPCs. Today we talk about NPCs in your games. We discuss how to give life to your NPCs and make them important. We also discuss how to manage tough NPCs and different situations that can arise with them. If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you like the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, or tell a friend. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome into the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and across from me in his home, all of his merchants have good personalities. Jared.
All of my merchants
All of your merchants
have great personalities. Awesome.
They're upstanding citizens, Jared, or scum of the earth. I don't know.
One of the two, but they've got personality, definitely.
They do.
Yeah. So, how's your week been?
It's going good. I mean, it's as good as it can go. I mean, thank God it's warming up, so we can start going outside. You're starting to see signs of life where people are I think losing their minds from being stuck inside. If anyone else is listening from Illinois, we've got pretty harsh stay-at-home orders here. So hopefully your life is a little bit more free and open, and you can go congregate with your friends and all that other good stuff. But and hopefully you're maintaining good contact with people that you know and love. How are you doing, Jared?
I'm doing decent. So still working very, very hard, but remotely. It's weird to have to engage so much with people virtually, and it's definitely weird to try to train them virtually. It's been an experience because you got to bring the energy, and when you're not with them, it's hard to bring that energy. Especially
I love the remote work, man. I can't complain. I've always loved it.
There's an energy in training that you need to bring to boost the crowd, comparatively to a virtual environment where it's unfortunately I'm at my kitchen table and my back is freaking killing me, and I'm like, please make this end. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What are we here to talk about today, Aaron?
We're here to talk about impactful NPCs in your games. What is an impactful NPC, Jared?
It's an impactful NPC is an NPC that matters, or has matter, as I like to put it. Creating impactful NPCs, everyone thinks, is a long and drawn out part, or a long and drawn out process. It really isn't. Aaron actually mentioned something, and it did kind of make me self-reflect for a moment when I was just like, I think most of my shopkeepers do actually have personality. Whether or not I put an accent on them, whether or not I make them weird, or if I make them nice, or if I make them angry, they typically at least leave something. And that kind of brings me to my first point, which is the common folk and their families. There are many times in a game where we have numerous NPCs that don't matter and will not matter to the story, whether or not it is simply a blacksmith who dinks or repairs dinked up armor, or if it is a engineer at a space station who always repairs the NPC's vessel. A lot of times we let these moments of opportunity slip away, and it's because we don't see these people as human beings. We see them as occupational classes. He is a blacksmith, period. And I think we talked about this in one other episode. There is a wonderful generator on a website called Chaotic Shiny. And I think we put it up in one of our first episodes. We put it up for everyone or Aaron did an intro that told everyone.
Yeah, we put it up in planning a game. You could do planning a game V1, which was the development side, or planning a game V2, which was the maintenance side of your game. But we do I did point out at the beginning or the intro there the generators Chaotic Shiny, and there's another one. This person does not exist. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
we look at the engineer and the blacksmith as people, and by using these generators or just giving them some spark of life. For example, one of the things that can make in a storyteller really change their perspective, and your players change your perspective on any NPC, is, do they have a family, and who is that family? For example, it does not always have to be, when I say family, I should say family and friends. It doesn't always have to be they're married with 2 kids, married with 1 kid, married. There are plenty of people in this life who are divorced. I don't think that Star Wars, even though it's in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, I'm pretty sure they had legal marriage and legal divorce. You know, other kids split between 2 homes. You know, taking that engineer who always rebuilds the spacecraft, or always rebuilds the engine. What happens when a player engages in them in a conversation? You know, what are you doing out here on space station XYZ, 904, out in the deep black of space? Well, back home, I've got a wife and kids, and I make all the money out here because a lot of business, and I send it back home. When was the last time you saw your family? 3 years ago. Whoa. Suddenly he's a person. He has flesh. He has bones. They can be broken. And this makes them just a little bit more impactful in everyone's day. Maybe your players make the decision, you know what, let's give them a little bit more money. Maybe on their next heist, they come back and one of your players takes the opportunity to be like, you know what, here's enough money to go see your family all the way back on Earth or Corellia and come back.
Exactly.
Just go see him.
I think your point there is, yeah, you can flesh out, especially if it's like an NPC that your players always interact with. Like they always go to this merchant, or they always go talk to this guy. Those are NPCs that you want to give a little bit more life to. Obviously, the waiter at the rest stop that you encounter might just have a very small description associated to him. He might not. He might just be a picture that you show your players. Okay,
he might not.
He might not. So not all NPCs have to be impactful, but the ones that your players tend to interact with a lot are always the ones who seem to have to be the most impactful. So this is where when you go with the common folk and the farmers and the peasants and the workers that your players interact with, you have to make a decision whether or not you want to give a little bit more life to a backstory or not. And if there are people that they're interacting with a lot, you should give them a little bit more life, because they're probably going to start asking questions and getting more comfortable and more knowledge, want to know more with that person or that NPC.
And here's the thing. This is something that we've really started with our detective series, and I thought it was one of the coolest moments that we had in that detective series. So in shoot, why do I always forget the names of things? Adventure. It is a White Wolf system. It is based on pulp. So like the Rocketeer, Indiana Jones, all the pulp movies, the Maltese Falcon, and if you want to go on the darker side. They have something called dramatic editing. Dramatic editing is points that players can spend to actually change your story. We kind of did that a little bit without actually instituting some sort of system. For example, we had one of our friends, Josh, joined us for a couple of sessions. Unfortunately, family life and responsibilities kind of took him away, but always be respectful of that. Family has to come first. Please remember that, GMs. It's not about your story. It's not about you. It's not about the group. It's family has to come first. Josh, if you're listening, we're giving you a little shout out. We miss
my boy
you,
Josh. Sorry.
There we go. So Josh was playing a character who was pretty much one of the paranoid, tin hat, believed everything he read, lived in an RV. And our characters started picking on him about how he needed to settle down. And we actually, without any NPC or whatever, the storyteller didn't have to say anything. I don't even remember who was storytelling. But I remember us saying, like, there was a girl who worked at a sandwich shop. She's gorgeous. and you gotta
I
go.
think it was Abby at the sandwich shop. You should go talk with
Abby at the
Abby.
sandwich.
Yeah.
You should go talk to her. She's great. And we created an NPC as players that actually had some flesh to her bones. So really, don't take away your player's ability to influence the game and to create more people. Don't allow it to go so far as to alter your plans or destroy your story, but don't take it away from the Abby at the sandwich shop is never going to interrupt game unless I design a game around her getting kidnapped. But what a great story that will be.
You'll find that a
But
lot too when players introduce NPCs in their backstories. So they're then introducing NPCs into your game that never existed. You get to make a decision whether or not you want to use those NPCs too, or if they're just people who existed in your past. But some of them might be really good. If you read through a good backstory that somebody's created, you might want to be like, I want to put more meat on the bone of that NPC. I know what he's like based upon the backstory, but I want to bring him into the game and I want to do stuff with him. And make sure that your player is okay with you manipulating a little bit of who that NPC is.
yeah, have a little discussion with them. Aaron has created a backstory that was very cool. So I talked with him about it. We had a conversation. I drove him for details. I didn't need any permissions because it's not like there was a love interest involved or anything, but I did drive him for details. So, always remember that the common folk have families. It's an easy way to remember, like, oh man, I should put some meat. Does he have a family? Does he have a hobby, an interest? Next is NPC friends. My thing is and this is a heads up to all storytellers. If an NPC is unpleasant to deal with and characters are not required to deal with them in some sort of way, like he is the king. If we ignore him, he'll chop off our heads. He's the president of the United States of America. I'm required to salute him. Or he is Darth Vader. So if I don't interact with him, he will hire bounty hunters to, like Boba Fett, to hunt me down. So if your NPCs are unpleasant or they don't work well with the group, they are not going to become friends of the group, most likely. If you want to create friends with the group, you have to know your players. KYP, know your players, know what personalities they enjoy working with. The other thing, and this makes it hard, this is what adds the challenge to it. If you want NPCs to become your players' friends, they need to be involved. It is so easy for us to forget the ally in a fight, especially in a fight scene. It's easy for us to forget them in the middle of a dialogue. They can't overpower the scene, but they can't disappear from it either. They have to be with the players in the game. So it does add in a little extra oomph and a little bit more responsibility to you as a storyteller. But if you want this meaningful friend to be part of their lives, a teammate, they need to be involved. For example, one of my, I think is a very good example is Cyclops from the X-Men. Notice for, examples that have jerks in it, I go for Marvel. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Marvel fans. I respect you. I respect your beliefs. Don't agree with them, but I respect your beliefs. But X-Men, there's a team of superhumans. Cyclops wasn't always in the story, and he wasn't always with the team, and he wasn't very liked by members of the team. So he wasn't involved in the stories, and thus he never became, in my personal opinion, a beloved character, even though I thought he was pretty awesome. I mean, he has rays that shoot out of his eyes like Superman. But You know, these optical blasts are not as powerful.
Listen. When we do our DC versus Marvel episode, you can bitch all you want, but let's.
Okay, yeah. So, but he, you know, so when you found out things about Cyclops, I personally, you know, like when he turned his back on the team and joined Magneto, like I remember reading that comic and being like, okay, I don't care. Like, oh man, we're so gonna miss Cyclops. Had they done that with Wolverine, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? You know, I would have gone crazy. You know, it's they have to be loved and they have to be present. So those are tips on how to create really good close friends. They need to be involved in the games, and they need to be involved in the games on a regular basis.
Exactly. I
So
want to hit on that point there, especially with the friendly NPCs. So it's not just if you want to make your NPCs friendly or friends to the group or become part of the group. If you want your players to work with and gather information from an NPC in general, the NPC has to be amenable to the players. They have to be a nice person. Okay. At least they have to start out nice. Okay. Because otherwise
precisely.
your players will never work with them. If the person's a jerk, okay, unless your players just love hanging out with jerks, okay, if the person's a jerk, the players are going to treat them like crap. Okay, the players are going to avoid them, and the players are going to say, "Why do we feel like we have to work with this person?"
They might
Now,
beat them up. They might kill them.
yes, and now maybe you have a player base who is just like, we will do whatever the hell the GM says we should do. Okay, if that's your player base, then you don't need to worry about that, because you can make the NPC do whatever you want, and they're going to feel like they have to work with them. Okay, but if your players have any sense of autonomy within your game, they are not going to work with jerks. They're just not going to. So you have to make friendly NPCs. Also, your players will be more inclined to follow friendly NPCs if they're friendly, because obviously they'll want to work with this person. If this person has information, if you're talking to the city guard and he has information and he says, "Oh, by the way, we're looking to deputize some upstanding citizens. We want you to become part of the city guard to help us take down the Glorgog." Okay,
The Glorgon.
the Glorgog. Yes, I don't know what that is in D&D, but it's something now. So you know, if we have this problem, and this guy has been very nice to you, you feel inclined to help him and work with him. Okay, if he comes in and he kidnaps you, and I'm sort of telling this from experience here, okay, if they force you to do something, your players are going to do everything in their power to get out of it. Okay, they are. All right. So the other thing I want to point out to Jared's point there is that when you introduce NPCs to be brought along with the players, the NPC has to be a side character. Okay, I would advise you strongly from a player perspective and a GM perspective that any NPC that you add to the group does not participate in combat, and they are literally there as support. Okay, all they do is they carry the players' weapons. Okay, they can be impactful in conversations that you have, but they do not actually impact the fate of the characters necessarily.
Absolutely, but I would actually disagree on your point about them engaging in combat. Let them engage in combat, but fudge the roles. They might kill one bad guy in a group of 50,
The reason
but they
why
have to be seen doing action.
The reason why I say don't have them engage in combat is that combat's already, especially depending on how big of a combat you end up with, combat is already challenging enough to manage.
It is.
You are managing a group of NPCs which are the enemy. So when you start incorporating additional people, you are now role playing as part of your group in combat, and nobody gives a crap about those roles because
That's true.
they're not
Don't
me
roll
doing it. Yeah, don't roll. Just say
or
that this
fudge the
person
roll.
hits, or fudge the roll, or have somebody roll for them. Do something. Make it.
I
If
have
you're
always liked having the players roll for the NPC because it actually makes their roles a little bit more fun, gets them involved.
it's
I've
just really
always
tough.
liked it.
That's a personal opinion on my point. Is
It
that
is.
I mean, because if that NPC is part of the group and is part with your players, that NPC, when they die, or if you kill them or you do something with them, will eventually have a meaningful role because they were part of the group, not because they participated in the combats.
True.
Okay.
And here's the kind of cap on that with the friends part. I have had in my life friends who acted like jerks and were still my friends. I have never had a jerk become my friend and stay friends.
Exactly. Yes.
I've never been like, oh, dude, I fucking hate this asshole. And eventually, like, he became my bestest of buddies. Like, no. I can think of an ex-girlfriend. One of her friends was a complete jerk. We were never friends. We'll never be friends. She tried to be my friend afterwards. I was like, no. Oh, you're a big bag of crazy mean. So moving on to, and Aaron, I look forward to, or no, my next point after this one, I look forward to getting your opinion on. So the next one is love interests. Love interests are so freaking difficult, and for me, so very awkward. It is difficult to manage. So if a player wants to engage in a love interest, first off, don't have a love chase after a player. Have a player chase after a love. Just because you're throwing in a complication that need not be. It's going to be artificial at best. I don't recommend it. If the player is like, oh my god, the guardian at the gates is super hot, and I'm gonna get in those pantaloons.
Fade to black. That's
Fade to black. If you're not comfortable as a storyteller role playing out the romantic part of a relationship, don't. Go down to roles. Okay, you guys develop a romantic relationship. If your player is insisting that they get more detail, it is time to have a pleasant chat with them and tell them, like, dude, I don't feel comfortable looking into your eyes across the table and being like, I love you too. I don't feel comfortable. No. That's just no. It's weirding me out, bro. So there might be storytellers out there that can really do that, and they can do it with confidence in their eyes. I can think of one storyteller that I have known, and they could do that. Like, they have no problem going to that highest maturity level of love and just going full bore, and like, she touches your hand gently. Like, he will storytell the crap out of that, but he has a set of brass ones that are just freaking amazing. He has the confidence of Hercules. But for 99% of the storytellers out there, we're not going to engage in that. We might not feel comfortable in that. We might not feel it is part of the story that we want to engage in. Please go down to roles. Tell them that your romantic relationship is fulfilling. If the player wants updates on this, my point, or one of my things is that I have seen, is when someone demands a romantic relationship in game and wants it played to the fullest extent, and it's between a player and an NPC, it is generally because they're at a time in their life where they might not have a romantic interest and yearn for it. Take that guy out for a beer and be the wingman. Let's find them a girl instead. But you're going to have your own comfort levels. Everything comes down to discussion, talking to your players, having those discussions and letting them know, and not just beating around the bush. If they're screaming at you, Jared, why don't I get updates on my girlfriend? I'm focused on the main part of the story. I don't feel comfortable writing what she's tweeting you. I don't feel comfortable telling you she sends you some nudies.
Yeah. Again, this is a classic, KYP, and also, KYG. Know your GM. Okay.
Know your GM.
Okay.
Know his limits.
Know his limits. Make sure session 0, first game session, set out the rules. Listen, guys, I don't feel comfortable telling you, playing out a love interest in the story. If you want to pursue a love interest in the story, I have no problem saying that it happens. I have no problem explaining that things are going well with them, but I do not want to role play that out with you. This is not something that I enjoy as well. If that's something that you're looking for, again, like Jared said, have a conversation with them. Okay, go to a bar, like listen, like I'm having a tough time, like like have a conversation with
It's all
your
about
friends.
conversations.
Okay,
It's all about
and
conversations.
but make sure that just as though your players may not feel comfortable being part of stories that you want to tell, okay, and you have to respect that boundary, they have to respect your boundary that you are not comfortable doing uh playing out love scenes and talking romantically to your friends. So again, loving NPCs, NPC love interests, it's a thing. It could happen. A lot of people put them in their backstories. A lot of
A
people
lot
want
of
to
people
pursue.
put them.
A lot of people want to pursue them in game, and it's perfectly fine to say to give them the Cliff's notes, or you spend time with your love interest, and it's fulfilling. Okay, like
Your relationship is satisfactory.
exactly. Okay, you play business as usual. And the other thing too is that a lot of people around the table aren't going to want to hear you two role play this
No,
thing out. Okay,
no, they don't.
a lot of people at your table are probably going to feel uncomfortable with it. So even if you're
Or
comfortable
they're
with
gonna
it,
crack jokes the entire freaking
even if
time.
you're comfortable with it and they're comfortable with it, just know that you have other people at that table who might not be, and just be like, listen, guys, I'm okay saying that you have a love interest, but let's move on. Well, we can say that things are happening, it's blossoming and it's wonderful, okay, but we're
And
not going to role play it.
here's one of the funny points that I reflect on momentarily is just both Aaron and I played characters who were married in the detective series. You almost never heard about the wives because there's a difference between mature love and puppy love.
Yes.
And if they're going for puppy love 24/7, there is a difference. And take this from a married man. There is mature love and then there's puppy love. But I will guarantee you, mature love is much more fulfilling than puppy love. Puppy love is all surface level. Mature love is that deep love that, it's something else. It's
Go
something
find
else
yourself a boyfriend or a girlfriend to fill the deeds of
to
puppy
fill
love.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
So moving on from the awkward conversation of love interests with NPCs, meaningful NPCs from animals and robots. Here's my stance. I freaking hate anyone with a familiar. Someone brings a familiar into my game, I just want to break the table in half. I hate, hate familiar NPCs and making them meaningful. I'm like, it is a because maybe it's because I'm a cat person. I love my cat. My cat is freaking awesome. But I'm not a dog guy where I'm like, my dog and I go everywhere. I take selfies with my dogs, and I don't do that. I don't. I don't. I don't. And
Geez,
it just it.
thanks for stereotyping that person with the southern accent there.
Sorry, anyone who has a southern accent and does take selfies with their dogs. I respect your beliefs. I don't share them.
He vehemently disagrees with them, but
I don't vehemently disagree. I understand. Like I understand people who love their animals. Um, I as a storyteller, I find familiars increasingly annoying. They're the NPC that, but here's my only positive, I guess, positive tool with NPC. Make your player responsible for their familiar. Just like you don't tell them how to swing their sword, you don't tell them how their dog and who their dog attacks. If they're at the end of the combat scene, like, what does my dog do? You look right back at them, be like, I don't know, what did they do? During your turn, you did not tell me what your dog was doing. So he was standing there barking at people. I don't know.
exactly. Well, that's actually a really good point. I mean, and that hits a broader point as well. But yes, they are responsible. That is an extension of their character. They are to act that character out. Okay. In very, very rare situations, will I ever say that you can take control of the dog. You do have that right as the GM. I mean, you can take control of any of the characters technically, if you want to. But in general, I would say it's an extension of their character. They're supposed to role play it out. Same thing kind of happens with things like amnesia or memory loss. Like it's their job to hash to make up their own story. Sort of, you get to wave the wand in the background and say whether or not you agree with that story, but they're supposed to kind of fill in some of the blanks.
Just a little bit. So animal familiars really, the way to make them meaningful is by placing them in your character's hands or your player's hands. That's how to make them meaningful. Because if you try to make this dog meaningful to the player, because trust me, if they selected it for a familiar, they've already got a personal attachment to the creature type, whether it be a dog, a cat, I don't know, a beagle. I don't know. But
no one
they've already got an
suspects the
emotional
butterfly,
attachment.
Jared.
No one suspects the butterfly. They've already created that connection with the animal because they chose it as a familiar. They think it's cool. You don't have to do any work with that except for put it on them to utilize. Because I just see dogs and all that shit is just like a sword.
It basically is a weapon at that
Swing
point.
your canine.
It basically is a weapon at that point. I mean, that's what a lot of them are. I mean, let's get real.
So, final point, death. Death of an NPC. I will tell you this. If you have not established the emotional connection between your NPC and your players, their death will be meaningless, short, and overlooked. If you have established that connection, their death will be short, meaningful, and probably forgotten in a couple of sessions. However, if you have a character whose death you want to be meaningful, short, and forgotten about in maybe 3 to 4 sessions, you need to build the emotional capacity first. If they are not familiar with this character, if they don't have any emotional attachment to this non-player character, you're not going to get it. And here's the thing, you have to build it. You have to build it. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes careful plotting. You've got to create magic to create that moment. We do talk about music. Music is a huge aid. It can create that. There are certain actions that you can take with an NPC. I was successful in making the death of one NPC actually meaningful, but it's because I used a combination of music and emotional manipulation of my friends. But that's what I do. I know my players. I know my players and I know them well. If you know your players are, unless this guy is the most helpful handyman in all the universe, they will not give a fuck about his death, then make him the most helpful handyman in the universe to make his death meaningful. You have to establish the emotional connection. It is most likely not going to come with ease. You have to put in the work. It's all about the work, ladies and gentlemen. I can't stress that enough. You don't put in the work. You don't put pen to paper. You don't push out those hours. And on a side note, I would like to take this opportunity to encourage every GM. Right now, I'm working quite a lot. I had a great conversation with my players and my friends that I couldn't take the storytelling reins for a little bit because work is literally falling on top of my head, even though we're all quarantined. My friends stepped up and said, no problem. And there wasn't. So storytellers, please understand when you've got that work, but you've got other things going on in your lives. You have to have that conversation with your players and inform them, and you need to step back because otherwise all you're going to push out is garbage because you won't be able to put the work in. You know what I mean? It's all about, just like building a house. If you don't have time to put the nails in the boards, the house is not going to erect itself on wishes and good dreams. You have to nail it.
And I'm going to just add one final point to yours there along the death route. It is very, very hard to set up an NPC for death that you want to be the NPC basically that the scene is about. Okay. in every situation that I have seen, Jared execute an NPC death that has been meaningful, it has been because the players decided to take an interest in that NPC.
Yes.
Okay. The players decided that NPC was more important than other NPCs. Okay. And I don't care if you build a game around the princess and the king and all this other stuff. If the players don't feel like that's an important NPC, and this is what Jared talked about giving it legs, putting in the work, putting in the effort. If the players don't feel like that's an important person, the death is going to be forgotten immediately. It's going to mean nothing to those players. Okay, they have to feel like that's an important person, and it's really hard to make them care about a specific NPC. It's really easy. It's really easy for them to just randomly care about an NPC. Okay, and they will. You're going to find in all your games somebody's going to care about different NPCs for different reasons. Okay, KYP, know your players, episode 2, listen to it, get familiar with it, because you're going to see that your players are attracted to different NPC archetypes that you like to put in your games. Those are the NPCs that let those NPCs become a little bit more friendly with the players. Okay, see if the players take the bait to get to know that NPC a little bit better, and then use that NPC to drive forward your narrative with their death at some point, if that is part of your narrative. You don't always need to kill your NPCs. This isn't like some grim memento mori that we're talking about.
Remember, you two will die. But that's all I got, Aaron. That's what I got. How about you?
I think we hit it on the head there with some impactful NPCs and just a little bit about that. So we hope everyone's doing well out there. If you want to get a hold of us, give us some suggestions for episode topics that you'd like to talk about. It's levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, tell your friends, put it on Reddit, tell your gaming group, get more people to listen to the podcast. We'd certainly appreciate it. But otherwise, have yourselves a good week, guys. For Jared, I'm Aaron. Take care.
Take care, everybody.